Well, good morning, James, Nicholas. Nice to see you two this morning.
Morning.
It's a little quiet in here, not too busy, it looks like. I'm guessing we'll have a few more join us in a few minutes. Let's hope so. So, what's new with you two? Are you guys busy at school?
I mean, besides that, everything's due at once. That's about it. Never understood it, but
Yeah, I guess this class is not too bad because it's kind of a constant flow throughout the whole program. That's not really anything's due at one time. So
yeah, this class works.
yeah, this one's not too bad. Does it does the presentation, but that's really about the only blip in the whole process. So good. Well, I see a few more people joining, which is good. Nick and Ian are here. It's good to see you too. Um, Well, we're getting to close to the end of the semester. It is week 12 this week, April 5th, and we are just sort of getting to the end of the work that's due in this program, in this class. Sorry, this class. We have a presentation today on concussions. Hopefully, if we have our people show up, there's a possibility that they do not show up. I don't think they've been too active in the class, but we will see. Um, and we have our last presentation next week, which means our last discussion board is starting this week, which is exciting, I'm sure, for all of you that participate in the discussion board. And uh, we have a few more weeks of our Sims. Our Sims will, after this week, our Sims take a bit of a right turn. They don't have any quizzes after this week. This is the last quiz, so we're done with our quizzes this week. We are done with the concept overviews, I believe. Let me just have a double check on that. I'm pretty sure that is the way this goes. Because the Sims take a little bit of a, like I said, a turn. They could become, I'd say, a little bit more challenging in some respects because if you're enjoying The Sims, I haven't got too much feedback from anybody, but the Sims become more of a um, let me just get logged in here. Uh, I, I guess oh geez, testing for a new password here. It's kind of bringing all the modules together, I guess you could say. So it's not just you're doing single modules each week. You're doing one module, but all of them are brought together in that one module. So you might be doing parking and tickets and player management and others together, all in one module. So it does become a bit more challenging and balancing act. Just gonna look at it, virtual sims. Yeah, it's just like you're running this full franchise. Yeah, so there's a learning phase and a challenge phase, and there's a briefing, but the case briefings are, I find, very similar each week. They just kind of say, give you, they kind of tell you a little bit about the challenge, but um, they just say, do the learning phase, do the challenge phase, and there's sometimes a little bit, a few tips. It might be more beneficial to check out the case briefing next, like for the next, not this week, but well, yes, this week, but more appropriate the week 13 and 14. Okay. um, All right. And let's see where we are. We have Mandeep showed up. Okay. Hey, Mandeep. Um, okay. All right. Well, class is a bit smaller than normal, but I find that for whatever reason, people have a slow start on Tuesday mornings. Well, I was out last night. My winter hockey is over. Finished last week, so this week we took a little bit of the since I run the program the night. We had a little bit extra dollars in the bank, so we spent those on some wings and beverages at our a local spot. Um, and what better way to entertain us than watch a Leaf game last night? Now, any of you on the line watched the Leaf game last night? Any thumbs up from anyone? You all busy doing homework? Come on, I don't think so. Well, it's nice to see the Leafs beat Tampa Bay. Pretty well tied in the standings last night. So Matthews got a hat trick, tied for the most Leaf goals ever, 54. Not too bad. It's a good time. Don't you love the spring for sports? It's so awesome. You get the NHL is, getting ready to, well, soon for the playoffs. They have another 13 or 14 games to go or something like that. Um, Jays season opener on Friday. You're into baseball. I don't think, does anyone know if that's at home or on the road? I don't know. I think it's at home for some reason, but I could be wrong. And they are playing in Toronto this year. Last year was just a messed up way of running baseball. They were in Dunedin, they were in Buffalo, they were in Toronto. Man, they came so close to making the playoffs last year. It was just, one game made the difference somewhere in the season at about whatever many games they played, but they were so close. Jays are looking good this year, and we have who watched Kyle Lowry return to Toronto? Was that not a highlight of the week as well? Any of you basketball fans? And can anyone tell? I didn't stay up and watch the whole game, but who won the NCAA last night? Can anyone tell me that? Because I did not see that. Nobody watched NCAA final? Kansas won. Okay. North Carolina was up, I think 40 to 25 at halftime, and then Kansas just came back and edged them 72-69. All right. Must have been a good finish. Disappointing for North Carolina. I thought they were going to win. They had a lot of fans there last night. All right, so it is a good time to be a sports fan. So, as I mentioned, Matthews tying the Leaf record for goals. As a question to you, what do you think's more important right now? Is it the individual record or is it the team performance? What is more important? Nothing? No responses? I didn't think it was that tough of a question. Team performance. Thank you, Jack. Okay, as we move forward here, doesn't seem like anyone's too talkative this morning. I don't see anyone here for the presentation for it's Marcus and Kasu. I don't see either of them on this call yet, but I do see some of the evaluators here. So Ian and Jack and Ian and Jack are here. That would be evaluators. So Ian and Jack, if the Marcus or Castu show up, then when we do the presentation after I go through the concept overview, then you two will be the evaluators. But let's go to the concept overview of this week, which is ethics. Let me just pull that up as you are patiently waiting for me. Player ethics. Where are we? Here we are. I haven't shared it yet. I will share in a moment. If it opens. Okay, here we go. Let me share that with you. Come on. I think my computer's getting a bit, oh, I know it's old actually, but it's getting a bit slower these days. Okay, here's our ethics in sports management. Yes, how do you really work, what is ethics in sports? Anyways, let's have a look at ethics in sports. And there are lots of different difficult decisions that need to be made in sports and sport with the players, with the team, and so on. So it's not only with the commercial brand of the organization, but with the players that work for the team. And in an ideal world, decisions are made with considering the economic outcomes, the moral and ethical principles, and the legal ramifications associated with each option. In sports, an organization is judged mainly on the wins and losses of the ability to generate revenue. I would have to agree with that. That's how teams are pretty well judged. Wins and losses. But when owning a team, decisions that are made affect more than just individuals who made them. Board of directors for a public corporation has a legal responsibility to act in the best interests of its stakeholders. A private organization like a professional team does not have shareholders, but I think there might be the odd professional team that's owned by the public. I'm not 100% sure, but it does have invested individuals like fans, players, sponsors, and staff, and intense scrutiny from the media that will affect how the organization as a whole will be viewed, but in the public eye. Some teams that do so well in attendance and merchandising and advertisement, sales, and so on, maybe don't have to pay such a close eye on this, but most other teams, the bulk of teams, will have to pay attention to this situation, and it's the image, right? The public image. So successful organizations create a structure of values that are instilled to all personnel to make up the organizational wide culture. Values are defined as the operating philosophies or principles that guide an organization's internal conduct as well as its relationship with the fans, sponsors, media. These values come from the leadership group, previous successful decision making procedures, and from the purpose of achieving goals in the organization. Now, I like to bring up the Leafs because it's, if you live in Ontario or are familiar with hockey, you pretty well know what's going on with the Leafs. But let's look at a few NHL teams like the Leafs or the Canadiens, and I'll look at the Leafs just with the culture of the management that are in place, and the people that have come in, and I guess it's currently Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas are the two main people that you see, and they brought a certain culture to the Leafs. Um, so ethics and decision making. Ethics is defined as the objective basis on which judgments are made regarding right and wrong. So you may want to remember that this um, definition for the quiz. So instead of being motivated by what decision will make the organization more or less money, motivations are based on what is reasonable and morally right or wrong. The concept of right and wrong is extremely abstract. Right? It could be right for me, but wrong for you. So this is one of the arguments and debates that does take place in the media and between friends and in the classroom and that sort of thing. So the concept of right and wrong is extremely abstract, but philosophers have broken it down into four schools of thought: virtue ethics, duty ethics, so deontological, consequential ethics, teleological, and relative ethics. So we're just going to talk about each one of those briefly. So virtue ethics, similar to the virtue approach in the next section, focuses on character of the person acting, virtue. It states that one should develop virtuous qualities such as honesty, fairness, kindness, faithfulness, generosity, prudence, integrity, bravery in one's self, and decision making is driven by this motivation. Okay, so virtue approach, virtue ethics. Duty ethics states that there is conduct that is plainly wrong and that the rule or principles in place, whether that is governing laws, codes of conduct, or company rules, should be followed regardless of what the outcome may be. So that is your duty ethics. Consequential ethics states the opposite, whereby if an outcome was good, then the process by which the outcome occurred were also good regardless of motivations. Okay, so it's regarding the consequences. Finally, relative ethics states that ethical conduct is relative to the norms of one's culture. Therefore, one's conduct may be right in one's culture while wrong in another. There is no set ethical standard. Conduct is subjective. So each of these four broad categories contains varieties of approaches to ethics, some of which share characteristics across the categories. Okay, so those are the four groups of ethics. There is not a perfect theory for making ethical decisions, but different approaches can be applied or referenced based on the fact of the dilemma and the parties involved. Okay, so the decision maker should take the theories from above and the following approaches into account when trying to make a decision on an organizational dilemma. Okay, who would have thought we'd be talking about ethics, right? I imagine you may have came up in another class, but here we're talking about ethics and managing a team. So there's a few different approaches here, four different approaches. And remember we talked the virtue ethics, so the virtue approach is also here. Utilitarian, fairness, common good, and virtue, all approaches. This approach, the utilitarian approach, states that a decision is ethical if it provides the most good or the least harm for all those affected, employees, community, sponsors, fan, athletes. It is focused on the consequences of the decision and balances the good accomplished with the harm done in accomplishing the good. Okay, utilitarian. So the fairness approach, this approach states that a decision is ethical if it treats all individuals involved equally or fairly. Okay, pretty easy. The common good approach, this approach states that the decision is ethical if it is made to benefit the whole over a select few. And it's kind of, I don't know, like how do you, the difference between fairness approach and common good approach. The fairness approach states that the decision is ethical if it treats all individuals involved fairly. This is common good approach states that decision is ethical if it's made to benefit the whole over the select few. It's very similar, I find, those two. Virtue approach. The approach focuses on an individual reaching their highest potential of character. Virtue ethics asks, if I do this, what kind of person will I become? Okay, we have an example for Maria Sharapova. Okay, was suspended from the International Tennis Federation for testing positive for banned substance. She was sponsored both by Nike and Tag Heuer, which is a watch company. Both companies dropped her because of her suspension. As a hypothetical, assume Sharapova won her appeal and is completely free of any wrongdoing. Next, assuming Sharapova won her appeal on a technicality that she did not receive timely notice but still tested positive. For each assumption, Nike and Tag Heuer, oh, should they re-engage her, right? Like, what is that? What is the company going to do? Should, maybe if Sharapova won her appeal and she wasn't, didn't test positive, or yeah, she tested positive, but it was just the timing of it, and she shouldn't have because she wasn't expecting to get tested. So, from an ethical viewpoint, should the companies re-engage her even if it's a bad decision, a bad business decision, using the above approaches? What are the ethical arguments for re-engaging her, and what are the ethical arguments for not re-engaging her? Right. So, it's there is something to say like, okay, she has already been tagged with that um, banned substance. So pause, or even if she's not convicted or suspended or she wins her appeal, she's still been tagged with it. So does your company want to be associated with that? So these companies have to come down and take into consideration the cost benefit analysis of each option. So whether to act or not to act when facing that ethical dilemma. So sports organizations are in the productivity business, so decisions can be motivated by wins and losses or generating revenue for a franchise. Well, it may be beneficial for a team's success to bring in a player with a checkered past or fire a head coach after a losing season. Each decision associated with the cost to the organization and the team owner, like whether it's a hit against the salary cap, um, or reparational harm from the media, players, or the fans that harm the team's ability to bring in other free agents. So you have to really weigh, like, what is that limit of something that someone's done? Like, is um, banned substances, or over here we're talking about theft and sexual assault. Like, what is that limit? So, is it a speeding ticket? Is it I ran through a stop sign, I got caught on a red light camera. Is that something that's, well, is that tolerable with your team? Or if it's sexual assault, maybe that's something that's not tolerable. So here's another example. Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the overall selection in the 2015 draft. Decision choosing between two quality quarterbacks, uh, Winston and Mariota. Winston had significant off-field incidences, including theft and sexual assault, while Mariota had no incidences. Um, but played in an offensive system that not easily translate to the NFL. But Buccaneers decided to go with Winston based on his ability and lead the team to a championship, which in turn would generate more revenue from the greater public exposure and increased uh, sponsorship, ticket sales, in lieu of the off-field incidences that would have harmed the credibility of the culture of the Buccaneers organization if those instances carried over to the NFL. So they took a chance there. They didn't seem to be the theft and sexual assault was something that was tough to make a decision for them. And legal considerations, not only must an owner consider the ethical or business effects of a decision, but also the legal ramifications to the organization and its stakeholders. Legal considerations focuses on assessing and limiting risk to the organization. So, does acting in a certain way create a greater likelihood the organization or its employees will be part of a lawsuit, or does it cause greater risk to the fan or athlete safety or sponsorship brand value? Okay. Well, for the 2016 Summer Olympics held in Rio, if anyone remembers those from about 8 years ago, or sorry, 6 years ago, um, the Olympics have all been screwed up lately with the years, but 2016 was the year. It was in Rio. There was a lot of water contamination, and there was health concerns for the swimmers. This was in the open water, like in the triathlon. I remember there was like sewage, like I don't know, sewage is maybe the wrong word, garbage floating around. Maybe there was sewage. I can't exactly remember. It might have been like sewage. Um, Athletes were really concerned about health concerns, and the um, going through with the Olympics resulted in a significant revenue generation due to its global population. Yeah, but it may not have been the ethically a right thing to do because of the conditions. So it's always the Olympics are something that is maybe we can look at as an example. Like they put these billion-dollar construction projects in areas in countries that they could be um, you know ripping down neighborhoods to build these things, or they don't have enough money because they have food insecurity, or people don't have places to live, but they're putting billions of dollars into building a, a stadium, that sort of thing. So ethically, the Olympics have always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. If an athlete's or fan safety was compromised due to the conditions, the International Olympic Committee could face legal ramifications because of the failure to provide a safe environment. True, true, true. Okay. So key terms here, we have the cost benefit analysis and economic analysis, in which weighs the positive negatives of a particular course of action. Ethics, the objective base on which judgments are made regarding right and wrong. Organizational culture, the overall environment within a company guided largely by the organization's values. Now, organizational culture, I'm wondering if um, like just think about some jobs that you have had and the culture that you've experienced in those jobs. Like if you had more than one job, you may be able to compare it. If you've had only one job, it might be difficult to compare the culture because you may not know of anything else, but only from talking with friends. I find like a lot of different retail are like that. Uh, I had my one son, he worked for Roots in the mall, which had a different culture than my daughter, who worked at American Eagle. There was different culture in the store, as a sort of a retail example. My other daughter worked at Tim Hortons, and again, a different type of culture. Culture is, and we've talked about this at work yesterday. It's a difficult thing to change, and it's not done quickly. It is done usually by hiring sort of different, I would say, different president, CEO does help with a culture change. The Leafs used to have a fella named Harold Ballard, and I'm old enough to remember this guy. And he was a clown of an owner. He was just there was. I'll give you an example of what he did. There was one time that the NHL jerseys never had names on the back, so just have your number, right? There's no Zucchino on the back of it, or uh, there was no Stella written on the back of the jerseys. It was just their number. So the NHL at one point said, okay, whatever, in 1972, I'm trying to remember the year, maybe around there, we're going to have, to make it, for the fans to connect better with the players. It's like, oh, who's number 27 on the Leafs? Or, oh, that's Daryl Sittler. Um, they didn't have to, they could read the name on the back. It wasn't like they just had to figure it out by looking at the number of their face, that sort of thing. So when the NHL came with this decision that, okay, you have to put the names, you have, like, that is mandated from the league, and Harold Ballard was such a goofy owner. He, um, if you can just think of the Leafs, either they used to wear home whites and then colored their darks on the road, but it switched around during the 90s. Um, they had the home whites on. Well, what did he do? He put their name in white as well on the back of the shirt. So it was. you still couldn't read it. So he did that as a protest against the league telling him what to do. But he's just a goofy owner. So the names were white, the sweaters were white. You couldn't read them because it was white on white. So that was one of the stories with Harold Ballard that just a very interesting fellow. Anyways, culture, when he eventually passed away and the team got sold, became Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and different presidents have come in. I think Ken Dryden was the president once for the Leafs. He was a bit of a, well, he's a lawyer, so he had a bit of a more of a, I don't know, long-winded, mm, very cerebral type of talker. Anyways, different culture. It is a hard one to change, but it is done sort of from the top down sometimes. We're talking about Georgian College because we're getting a new president here in June. Our current president is retiring, and there's a new president coming in. So the culture will most likely change. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll be worse or better, but it will change. Then values, the operating philosophies or principles that guide an organization's internal culture as well as its relationships with its fan sponsors, the sports media, and stakeholders, the persons impacted by a particular decision. So if the decision does not impact you, you are not one of the stakeholders. Okay, let's go back to here. I am currently, whoops, sorry. Let me just get my screen organized. Marcus. Well, I do not see what I usually do is go to the quiz now. I'm not going to go to the quiz right now. Our presenters are not here, so we are going to move on to the learning phase. Okay, so if everyone wants to open up the learning phase, I will actually let me open it up for you. Where is it? Here it is. Ethics in sport. Okay, I've made the quiz available. You can do that after we're done the learning phase. Okay, so I know I usually don't open up the case briefings, but let me just have a look here. There's they do have some. I'm just going to check what it says. Maybe I've kind of avoided these because I felt they were fairly redundant, but as we look at them, maybe it would have been, I think just because I've done them so many times, I was avoiding looking at them. But so in the learning phase, assess players via their key on the field performance stats, review each player's off the field behaviors and problems, sign players, and then assess the fans' reaction to a player with serious off the field issues playing for the team, monitor event reports, and release players if fans' negative feedback and low attendance will impact your team profits. Okay. Let's go back and get this open. So we're going to do the learning phase right now. I will run through that one with you. And I will share my screen. Okay, the learning phase. Ethics in sports management. We have one of 12 steps here. We're going to be watching the stadium most of the time because we'll want to just see the fans that are coming into the game. So in this learning phase, you will make decisions for the practice franchise. No, it says the Pumas here. Oh, maybe for a practice franchise. Name the Pumas. Okay, keep reading, Mike. Okay, the team stadium is shown on your screen. The team is doing poorly with no wins and 2 losses. They have an important player personnel decision to make. They need a better quarterback. However, the best available free agents will have some off-field issues. Oh, really? Off-field issues? What sort of off-field issues? Well, let's click Actions and Player Management. When the form opens, quarterback is initially selected under, yeah, okay, the quarterback's initially selected. The simplified performance table shows salary, pass completion percentage, and interceptions. You can click on any column header to see if higher or lower is better for that stat. So here it tells you pass completion percentage higher, interceptions lower. Okay? Look at the player selections available. Based on these statistics, how would you rank these quarterbacks from best to worst? Who is the best? Well, we are looking at, I would say Thorson has the best pass percentage and lowest interception, so he's got to be the best. And this Sherwood Price has got to be the worst. So Thorson, Myers, Price. Right? Those are the ones available. First, second, third. Next. Good. Now let's see what else is going on with these good players. With these players, Sports News Magazine recently published an article on all three. Read it by clicking here. So we go here. Article comes up. Which statement best summarizes the player's issues? Okay, so if you summarize this, Thorson, was it Thorson, domestic abuse, Myers, driving while impaired, Price, possible assault and battery, or was it this, this, and this? Okay, so let's see what happened here. Price is with a large group of friends when fans of a rival team began taunting him. Witnesses say the fight was ensued in which Price knocked a person to the ground. This is unclear exactly who started the physical altercation. No charges have been filed. So Price, possible assault and battery. Price driving while it's probably going to be the number one here. Pax Thorson was convicted of domestic assault. Okay, so it's going to be this one here. Okay, we found out what is going on with those players. Next, the decision to sign one or more of these players is up to us, or you. To make this decision, you will need to consider the ethical perspective of your fans, your organization, and yourself. In an ideal world, the fans' ethical standards, your organization's ethical standards, and your personal ethical standards might all align. However, in reality, this is often not the case, and the ethical decisions become very complex. Ethical norms are influenced by society and culture. In this case, simulation. You'll use your fan base as a gauge of ethical norms in this society. Okay, let's see what else is happening here. Number 5. Since this is a learning phase, let's experiment by signing Paxton Thorson. He's a top performing prospect on the field, but serious off-field issues. Let's close this. So we're going to go actions. Well, we're in player management already. We didn't close it yet. Under available players, check the box to Paxton Thorson. Okay. And sign the player. Hit close. Now run your simulation through 1 week, which includes a home game on Sunday. So click the run to and September 26th. Are we here? Okay. Here we go. Did your team, the Pumas, win or lose? Watch the scoreboard. Ooh, looks like they won. I think that's what it said. We know how to click that, right? We can go reports, event reports, and right here, details. Oh, sorry, we're already there. Right at the top, 31-0. Okay, 31-0. Next, step 6. That's a nice win. In this simulation, the more you win, the more fans come to your games. But other factors influence attendance too. Look at your attendance and fans' comments about the game on the event report. Look under ticket sales and find the total number of tickets sold. Ticket sales for the game before were around 11,000. Did they go up or down? Well, first of all, the comments say, I can't believe they have Paxton Thorson on the team. I'm not giving them any of my money. 6,666 people. That's a fair chunk of people, I would say. And the sales, ticket sales for the game, 11,000. Ticket sales, tickets, lower. Well, okay. A lot lower, I would say. Okay, down. Now take a look at the customer comments section in the event report. Well, we did that. The number of fans making each type of comment are shown. And the most common reason fans stayed away from the game, disgust in this fella. Disgusted. They're not going. In this case, the societal ethical norms make having Paxton Thornton on your team a strong negative despite his ability to help you win. In reality, this would be one factor that weighed into your decision. You would also consider the ethical standards of your organization, impact of a player on teammates, and more. Of course, not all off-field transgressions are as bad as Thorson's. Many fall into a gray area, which we're talking like speeding tickets or maybe it was late to a game, that sort of thing. Maybe missed the practice. Of course not. Okay, let's try one more signing. Close the event report window. Let's just see here. Go to October. The second, 13,000 are expected. Okay. Next. Actions. Whoops. Actions, player management. Check the box next to Pax and Thorson. Okay. And release him. Okay. That was a quick signing. Okay. Oh, he's down here now again. Under available players, check the box next to Reg Myers. Okay. Second best one. Pretty close though, right? 62 to 69% passing completion. Pass completion percentage and interceptions are about the same. And we're going to sign this fella. All right, and close. Now you run the simulation through another week, including another home game on Sunday. Click Run to October 3rd. Click Run to September. Click there, October 3rd. Here we go. Win or lose. Oh, I saw that. They won 17-13. That was close, but still a win. Let's look at your attendance, fan comments about the game on the event report. Look under ticket sales and find the total number of tickets sold. Tickets for the game before were around 5,000. Okay, I can't believe they have Reg Myers on the team. I'm not giving any of my money. Well, it was only 429 compared to 6,666, so that's actually quite a good improvement. And the sales went way up. Okay. Okay, so this looks like a better decision ethically. Ticket sales have rebounded with Thorson off the team. Now take a look at the customer comments section in that report. Number of fans making each type of comment are shown. Yes, but fewer than 500. Okay. Next. So in this case, the society fans are willing to look past Myers' issues of driving after taking painkillers. Your organization or you personally might still have issues with the behavior, but it won't affect ticket sales. So for the purpose of this challenge phase, you can assume that the ethical standards of society consider convictions worse than allegations and crimes with specific victims worse than crimes without specific victims. Okay, so keep that in mind when you do the challenge phase. Congratulations, we have completed the learning phase. All right. Okay, I will hit submit there. Close sim. All right, the other sims, the challenge phase is open for you. And any questions at this point? I knew the only question I have had general question is a sort of a mark for the discussion and for the quizzes and all that. So I know I have to convert it from the sim, the marks from the sim, into Blackboard. But I don't have a completed mark yet. I'm working on them. I think you should have a good idea. If you've participated in all the discussions, you're going to get all of those marks. If you participate in half of the discussions, you're going to get half of the marks. All right. The quizzes and the challenge phases, you're given marks. If there's any of them that you'd like to redo and get a better mark, please send me a message. Say, oh, I want to do the player management quiz over again. I got 50%. I'll let you do that. You just let me know which quiz or which challenge phase you would like to redo, and I will make those available for you. Okay? Uh, and since our uh, our well, let me just do one other thing while I'm here. Discussion board. Still getting about the average here. Okay, last discussion board is on social media. And I'm going to manage it. Oh, how do I turn it to it? Hold on a second. Discussion board. I want to edit it, edit, make available. Yes, and submit. Okay, the social media is open. It's the last discussion. Okay, let's see if we're getting not bad participation last week in our discussions. 12 of the 23 people participated. So I'm gonna probably guess there's gonna be some disappointed people at the end of the term because it's been about 50% throughout the whole semester. All right. Okay, social media is open. There's no presentation today because our presenters did not show up. Um, they never sent me any message or anything, so don't know what's going on with them. Uh, Next week, we have our final presentation on social media. And as a reminder, it is Julian, John, and Mandeep. And Mandeep, you are on the line. Hey, Mandeep, you are doing the presentation next week. And
Yes,
yes, okay, that's good. So have you made contact with John and Julian?
yes, we
Awesome.
are, yeah, we are working on presentation.
That's fantastic. Good to hear. Okay, so you have social media for next week. The discussion board is open. And are there any questions about anything? Like, will the Leafs win a playoff round? Is the question. But I don't know if I'm in the right mind to answer that. I'm not seeing or hearing any questions. So it is 8:49. We probably could wrap up now since there's no presentation today. I'll stay on the line until everyone has left, or if there's any questions that you want to ask me after I shut off the recording. So everyone have an awesome day today, and good luck in completing all your assignments and all your classes.
Thanks, Mike.